Some men do not suffer because they lost something. They suffer because they keep offering themselves to what has already disrespected them. They keep returning to the same coldness, the same humiliation, the same emotional erosion, hoping that patience will be mistaken for value, hoping that endurance will finally be rewarded with understanding, respect, or love. But there comes a point when staying is no longer a sign of depth. It becomes a quiet form of self-abandonment. Walking away is not always escape. In many cases, it is the moment a man stops negotiating his peace just to preserve a bond, an environment, or a conflict that keeps diminishing him. Most people confuse insistence with strength. They imagine that the man who remains is the stronger man. But often remaining is not courage. It is attachment disguised as honor. It is fear of being forgotten disguised as loyalty. It is the refusal to face emptiness disguised as perseverance. Marcus Aurelius understood that the mind must be governed from within. He wrote like a man protecting an inner citadel, a place that should not be ruled by noise, provocation, rejection, or the instability of others. The problem begins when a man hands the keys of that inner citadel to someone else's opinion, someone else's inconsistency, someone else's ability to choose him or ignore him. Then his peace is no longer his own. His worth begins rising and falling with forces that were never under his command. And this is where many men quietly break, not in public, not with drama, but in the exhaustion of trying to be understood, respected, desired, or valued by those who only respond when they sense weakness. Epictetus saw this clearly. Suffering becomes prolonged when we keep trying to control what does not belong to us. Another person's reaction, another person's reciprocity, another person's conscience. This is the central tension of the video. When is walking away an act of dignity, and when is it only another form of avoidance? When does silence protect the soul, and when does silence hide fear? The answer matters because peace does not begin when the world finally treats you well. Peace begins when you stop remaining where your soul keeps fragmenting. Peace begins when you stop asking unstable people, unstable places, and unstable outcomes to authorize your self-respect. Development, this invisible mistake, staying too long because you fear seeming disposable. Many men tell themselves they are simply not the kind of man who gives up easily. They call it commitment, they call it loyalty, they call it heart. But beneath that language, there is often something much more painful. There is fear, fear of abandonment, fear of becoming forgettable. Fear that if they leave, they will have to face the possibility that they were never truly valued in the way they hoped. So they stay, not because the bond is still alive, but because leaving would expose the wound underneath the performance of strength. The wounded mind begins surviving on fragments, a delayed message, a small sign of warmth after indifference, a temporary return after distance. These moments are interpreted as proof that value still exists, but psychologically, this looks less like love and more like intermittent reinforcement. The man is not being nourished, he is being hooked. He is no longer chasing a healthy bond. He is chasing relief from the anxiety created by instability. Not every man begs with his voice. Some beg with endless availability. Some beg with long explanations. Some beg with tolerance that has no limit. Some beg by always being willing to fix, repair, and absorb. Outwardly, they look mature. Inwardly, they are leaking dignity. The body stays present, but self-respect is already walking toward the door. If a man remains too long in places that reduce him, his identity begins to adapt to the reduction. He stops merely enduring a bad situation and starts seeing himself as someone who should endure it. He lowers his standards. He normalizes confusion. He mistakes being tolerated for being valued. He no longer asks whether the environment fits his dignity. He asks how much more of himself he can sacrifice to keep belonging. There is a brutal distinction here. If every effort to get closer requires you to weaken your center, reduce your clarity, or betray your own standards, you are not preserving something noble. You are financing the erosion of your presence. That is why walking away is sometimes the beginning of integrity, not because pain disappears, but because you finally stop helping the pain continue. Development, the psychological trap of wanting the last word. For many men, the most difficult part is not losing the bond, is losing the chance to be fully understood. The injured ego keeps saying the story is not over until the other person finally admits the damage, recognizes the value they overlooked, or feels the weight of what they caused. But that turns peace into a hostage of another person's conscience. It makes inner stability dependent on someone else's awareness. There's a point where explanation stops being clarity and becomes emotional exposure. The man believes one more conversation will restore dignity. He believes one more message will finally make truth impossible to ignore. But often he is no longer speaking from strength. He is speaking from dependence. He is asking another person to confirm that his pain was real, so he can stop feeling internally fractured. Performative strength needs to win the exchange. It needs the final line, the sharper argument, the visible victory. Real strength is different. It recognizes when the conversation has become a stage for erosion rather than a place for truth. And then it leaves without spectacle. It stops feeding a fire that only grows by consuming attention. Even after the outer conflict ends, many men continue it privately. They replay the scene, they rewrite the dialogue, they imagine a cleaner exit, a stronger answer, a more devastating truth. This loop feeds anxiety, anger, insomnia, and exhaustion. The event ends, but the mind keeps reopening it. To walk away in the Stoic sense also means walking away mentally. Otherwise, the body leaves, but the mind remains imprisoned. There is a deeper discipline that separates truth from reactivity. Before another explanation, before another defense, before another attempt to force understanding, a man must learn to see what is really moving him. Is this protecting clarity or feeding ego? Is this changing anything real or only extending emotional wear? Is this truth or withdrawal from lost validation speaking through language? Many conflicts weaken the man, not because he was hurt once, but because he kept reopening the wound with words. Development. Not every departure is strength. Sometimes walking away is also escape. There are men who disappear, shut down, and call it Stoicism. They confuse numbness with discipline and distance with wisdom. But silence is not a virtue when it comes from fear of honest confrontation, fear of vulnerability, or moral laziness. A man can look calm and still be governed by avoidance. He can look detached and still be terrified of truth. From the outside, both look similar. In both cases, a man becomes quiet. In both cases, there is distance, but inwardly, they are completely different. Strategic retreat preserves dignity and stops further degradation. Emotional abandonment avoids feeling, avoids responsibility, and avoids naming reality clearly. One is born from discipline. The other is born from cowardice, wearing a respectable face. A serious question changes everything. Is the man leaving to preserve what remains intact inside him, or is he leaving to punish the other person with his absence? A clean departure does not need theater. It does not secretly depend on the other person panicking, regretting, or finally recognizing the loss. That is not dignity. That is wounded pride, still asking the external world to validate its impact. Some men become highly skilled at leaving. They walk away from relationships, work, friendships, and places, yet the same pain keeps following them. The same instability keeps returning. The names change, but the pattern remains. Then a hard truth appears. The problem was not only the environment, part of it was the internal structure. that had never been examined deeply enough to change. True departure becomes meaningful when a man is honest enough to face both realities at once. What in that situation disrespected him, and what within him kept tolerating, excusing, romanticizing, or returning to that disrespect. Without the second truth, every exit becomes only a scene change. Distance without self-examination does not become wisdom. It only becomes repetition in a new location. Development, what is really recovered when you step away from what degrades you. When a man steps away from what constantly reduces him, he does not recover only silence. He recovers continuity. His actions stop contradicting his values every day. He no longer wakes up participating in what weakens him while privately resenting the cost. Something inside begins to reconnect. That is why departure can feel painful and stabilizing at the same time. Much of exhaustion comes not from one great tragedy, but from constant low-grade conflict, repeated tension, anticipatory stress, the need to explain, decode, defend, and recover. Distance restores attention, it restores focus, it restores moral energy. The man begins to realize how much of himself had been consumed by emotional damage control. Confidence does not become real because a man repeats beautiful ideas about his worth. It becomes more believable when his behavior finally aligns with what he claims to deserve. The nervous system pays attention to conduct. It notices whether he keeps returning to humiliation or whether he finally stops placing himself beneath what already made him smaller. Many men begin rebuilding not because they heard the perfect sentence, but because reality became too clear to ignore. A humiliating divorce, an unjust dismissal, a manipulative friendship, a cycle of dependence that became too degrading to romanticize. The turning point was not eloquence. It was the sober realization that remaining had started to cost more than leaving. There are pains that do not heal because the man never fully leaves what opened them. He still checks, he still watches, he still keeps a line open, he still feeds the old cycle with attention. But healing requires conditions. Distance, in some cases, is not coldness. It is emotional, biological, and moral space for the wound to stop being refreshed every day. Development, the peace that comes after, is not euphoria, it is inner sobriety. When the chaos ends, many men do not feel peace immediately. They feel a strange emptiness that happens because they had been confusing intensity with connection. Once the turbulence disappears, the nervous system experiences the absence of stimulation before it experiences the presence of order. Calm feels unfamiliar. Stillness feels almost suspicious. But this is often not emptiness, it is withdrawal from chaos, unstable messages, partial reconciliations, conflict followed by warmth, emotional uncertainty followed by temporary relief. All of this creates a rhythm the body can become addicted to. The man thinks he is missing love, but he is also missing the chemistry of unpredictability. He is missing the spike, the anticipation, the tension, the release. This is why some men return to what harms them. Not because it was good, but because the body had become conditioned by its disorder. After leaving, a man must relearn how to exist without checking who noticed, who regretted, who suffered, or who finally understood what he was worth. Mature peace does not need applause. It does not need to be performed. It does not need to be announced. The man who is truly rebuilding stops measuring his recovery through someone else's eyes. Reconstruction begins in structure, in the body, in routine, in responsibilities that were neglected while chaos took over, in attention being reclaimed from obsession, in daily proof that life can be governed again. Discipline matters here not because it erases pain, but because it stops pain from becoming identity. It gathers scattered pieces and gives the mind less room to feed disorder. Walking away does not instantly erase love, memory, grief, or longing. Stoicism does not ask a man to become numb. It asks for something harder. It asks that pain no longer govern his choices. The wound may still speak, but it is no longer allowed to run the house. This is inner sobriety, not emotional emptiness, but restored authority. There are battles that do not deepen character. They only exhaust it. Remaining in them does not prove depth. It often proves disorder. Marcus Aurelius understood that dignity begins when a man stops allowing the external world to determine the quality of his mind. The inner fortress does not open its gates to every noise, every provocation, every late apology, or every unstable promise. It learns to protect what is inside because it finally respects what is inside. Seneca reminds us of something equally severe. Suffering is not fully avoidable, but prolonged exposure to what keeps wounding us is often a form of emotional imprudence. Grief may be unavoidable. Humiliation may not be. Pain may arrive without permission. Self-betrayal does not need to continue indefinitely in the name of hope. This is the decisive contrast. Walking away is not rejecting life. It is not rejecting love. It is not rejecting human bond. It is rejecting self-betrayal as the price of belonging. It is refusing to shrink just to remain chosen. It is refusing to trade peace for crumbs of attention, clarity for unstable validation, dignity for temporary relief. The man who steps away from what degrades him is not empty of feeling. He is full of limit. He may still grieve. He may still remember. He may still feel the ache of what was lost. But he no longer lets feeling outrank self-respect. He no longer asks chaos to tell him who he is. He no longer waits for unstable people to authorize his worth. And perhaps that is where the real peace begins. Not in finally being chosen, not in finally being understood, not in finally being forgiven or validated, but in no longer remaining where your dignity grows ill. In understanding that some doors do not close because you stopped caring. They close because you finally started caring about something deeper, the condition of your own soul. If this reflection spoke to something real in you, write below, "I choose peace over self-betrayal," and subscribe if you are rebuilding your life with more discipline, more clarity, and more self-respect.